locking lips, swapping spit, whatever you want to call it.
Swapping spit.
I've heard that phrase.
I will never
spit.
kiss anybody again. That's such a good chat-up line. Want to swap spit?
Swap
Yeah,
spit?
here's mine. Mine's
go
in
on
the
then.
cup.
Hi and welcome to episode 4 of Love Island or Lie Island on metro.co.uk. I'm here with body language expert Judy James. Welcome back, thanks for joining us. Major drama, big drams so far this week, particularly around one man, Danny, with his deciding to ditch Yewande and couple up with Arabella, and of course Yewande left the villa. That he seemed quite torn between the two of them. He seemed that way, but in your opinion, do you think he kind of already knew where his head was at and he was just playing it out, or what do you think was going on with him there?
I think, I mean, the good thing for him is it has given him a bit of a personality, which he was lacking up until that point. I mean, you're like very one-dimensional. Now he's like 1.5 dimensions there.
Not a massive improvement.
But, yeah, come on, that for Love Island, that's not bad. I was quite surprised in a way because I don't believe in the relationship, so I won't have too much truck with whether he was actually into either of them. Right. But I was interested that he made his decision based on who he maybe fancied more, rather than thinking if I chuck Yewande at this stage of the game, because she's been in there since the start, she's a popular housemate. I would imagine he would know that, you know, she's seen as somebody quite popular outside as well. Yeah. That I might then get a big dent to my popularity outside with the viewers. So he maybe hadn't thought that one through, but the one thing I do want to point out this week is that, and they need to realise that if they've got the brain going on there, they are now getting overwhelmed with advice from the other people in the villa all the time. And I have to say, a lot of that advice is not good. It's aimed at maybe being competitive rather than giving them really good. You know, people go, oh, go with your heart, not your head. Yeah. No, you're in a competition, go with your head, you know. I mean, so I think there's quite a lot of competitive jostling going on there, and a lot of that is coming across from the dodgy advice that they're giving. As well as then it gives them the chance to, no, you go with who you want, and then when you come back, boy, are we going to hate you. Yeah.
Who do you think is Danny's biggest competition in that sense then? Who's giving him the worst advice?
I think nearly all of them, actually. I mean, the other guys, Saint Curtis, is never going to...
Clock watcher Curtis, yeah.
Too good to live. Yeah. Did you actually, can I just say about St Curtis, have you seen he's on emergency call-outs now? Because there is one point in the normally he's around when there's a problem, like an emotional problem that he needs to... There was something this week, there was a moment when somebody had done something and he came running, like blue flashing light, you know, somebody needs my sound advice here. I think they're all probably giving lousy advice, whether they're smart enough to know why they're doing it, and I think most of them are. So I'm going to blame the whole lot of them.
They're all trying to sabotage him.
Yeah.
But we're just going to take a look back at the moment where he decided to break up with Yewande, massive controversy, and just get your thoughts on how that bit played out.
Arabella.
Probably, again, as I said, one of the more shocking moments of this series.
Did you cry?
No.
No, I mean, I was quite dry-eyed,
upset.
actually.
Yeah, I wasn't upset about it. Also, I felt like she was quite sort of, I don't know. She was hugging people. Well, both of them actually. Yewande, she was obviously upset to say goodbye to people. But one thing I felt, and I saw on a few comments on our last episode, was that people felt Yewande didn't really like Danny anyway. I saw one person call her a psychopath. I was like, okay. I wanted to get your thoughts on that, because that's quite strong, isn't it?
That's about as strong as it gets. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Again, I think she was getting the wrong advice. I mean, I said ages ago, she was kind of too intelligent to be in there. Yeah. And with the more intelligent women in there, I think they're really struggling because they know they've got to go through the motions and couple up with somebody. And they know that 90% of the time, 99.9% of the time means somebody that they're not particularly attracted to. And I think that she did go through a stage where she was saying it's not really working.
Yeah.
And then all the girls came in, all the women came in, no, you've got to show your emotions. And then we got some really weird body language displays from her, because I think she thought she ought to open up more. And that awful moment when she came and just sat
climbed on top of him. Yeah,
I mean, it was just... I thought, that's not her, that's not Yewande. I mean, I know she's a little bit awkward and maybe inexperienced, I suppose, but that was just the wrong... all these women going, no, you get in there, you don't... I think normally she would have just played it cool.
Yeah.
That's fine, you've chosen her and gone with elegance, but I think she was getting wound up to kind of be more feisty. And I think it just all came out wrong, and I really felt for her.
Yeah, so did I. I think it is a loss to the island, definitely, I feel anyway. And what do you make of Arabella's reaction to the whole recoupling scene with Danny picking her, calling her intelligent, which sort of...
Yeah, there was that they did kind of bluff us a bit on that one, didn't they? And I know there was a lot of people saying, was that deliberate? And I must admit, because I was watching thinking he'd used the brain rather than other parts of his anatomy. And when he said that, there we all were, suckers at home thinking it's going to be Yewande. And I'm very suspicious about the way he said that. It's almost as though he thought he should hold it out a little bit longer, roll on the drums moment, and then surprise us all. But he probably chose right, because I think Arabella is much more up for the game in a way.
Right.
And I think she gets it. I don't think it will work out as a relationship, but I was not enjoying watching Yewande pretend that it was. I think that was probably beneath her intelligence and her dignity. It's such, it's so awful that meant that she had to go.
Yeah, it's a shame. And speaking of Arabella, she seems to be public enemy number one at the moment. And obviously, they wasted no time after Yewande left, locking lips, swapping spit, whatever you want to call it.
Swapping spit.
I heard that phrase.
I will never
spit.
kiss anybody again. That's such a good chat-up line. Want to swap spit? Mine's in the cup.
Go on then. But yeah, they did have quite a passionate kiss, and we're just going to take a look at that moment between them now. My reaction was the same. It was just like a plunger. It was pretty, I don't know if that was... What was going on there, Judy? Was that all, including the noises, was that all for show? Are they just putting on a front? What's happening?
Where do those noises come from? It's like something in the bushes is doing sound effects. That was all for show. I mean, that was kind of maybe a victory roll in a way, but I don't think you'd take yourself off right in front of everybody. And there was no body contact. It's like two magnets, and then and it was all display gesture. In the normal world, people, when in terms of body language, there will be what's called investigative touch, which would be where you'd maybe touch somebody on the hand and then on the arm, and then see if they reciprocated, and then maybe the knee, and then build up to the kiss. But it's straight on to locking lips in that show, isn't it? And just to show the others that this is why we did it, I suppose. And
you mentioned earlier that you weren't convinced if they were going to work out. Can you elaborate a bit on that? Why do you think they're doomed?
I say this about everybody. Can I just say, it might take weeks after they leave the show, but I just sit there looking at my watch. There's a kind of a basic chill between them. I mean, they're both models. Actually, models don't mate. I'm sorry. I worked in the business. Models, I never knew models that dated one another. Okay. The narcissism is too enormous, and it just doesn't work that well. So it's quite unusual, and it's all very well saying they've got the same job, but I would say that counts against them rather than anything else. No, I think that she would date somebody very different outside the villa. So you think Danny just picked the hot supermodel in this instance? Do you think? I suppose they would, really, wouldn't they? Yeah. And the other thing, psychologically, can I just say that a lot of the coupling that's going on in there and has always been going on in there, it's being used to achieve power in the villa more than to get a good relationship going. You'll notice the people that aren't coupled off are always treated like you know, sort of, they've got no power in there at all. And then the ones that create a good coupling, in inverted commas, they're now displaying themselves as the alpha power couple. Wow. So if you want to get any power in there, you've kind of, either you couple off with a rock or a tree or something, but if it's another human being, so much better. And if it's a human being that actually looks very good, and I think that got up the other women's nose, then that's the only way you get a step on the power ladder in there.
Right. I just had this vision of people investigatively touching trees or rocks.
I'm sure they've done it already on the programme.
Yeah, so Arabella and Danny will be interesting, especially now with Yewande gone, which seemed to be their only connection. Like, she was all they talked about. Now she's not there. What are they going to do?
Well, and this is where people do sometimes go back to one-dimensional. The conversations might not be that fascinating. As you say, that might have been the catalyst that brought them together in the first place. I think that probably is very good for the programme couples like them who have paired off in a bit of a panic, but are still loose enough that somebody else can come between them, because we haven't had enough of that this season.
We haven't. Interesting point, we haven't. I think that's still to come, I agree. So from Arabella and Danny to the other end of the spectrum, sort of, Curtis and Tommy had a lovely heart-to-heart. We're just going to take a look at them talking.
I haven't met someone like you really before.
I'm tearing up good.
You're raw. You are. What? I mean, bro, come here. Come here, bro. Come here, bro. Come here. Oh, man.
Yeah, so that was them having
I don't even know why I'm smiling. I'm sorry. I've got nothing against they want to lock lips, that's up to, but it was like a dance routine on Strictly. It was choreographed, it was contrived. And we all know why, don't we? Because bromances actually get more in the way of viewer approval, work afterwards. So I knew that they've all been trying to get their little bromances going, but clearly these two guys that are now in huge competition with one another, as they've got what is possibly seen as the two of the big romances going on in there. Yeah. All they were missing was and to confirm the bromance in the same spot that they do the romance.
Yes, of course, good spot.
Can you honestly imagine those two guys going, I know, let's just go upstairs and chat, you know. No, it honestly, contrived didn't even begin to describe it. And then Curtis instigates the snog. I love the way, because, I mean, Tommy must be really good at ducking out of punches and things like that. But Curtis got him 2 ears, 2-ear grab there.
Like a jug, yeah.
Absolutely, and smack on the lips. And then we got, I love the man hug that came afterwards as well. It was all top of the body, no pelvic touch whatsoever. A really good bromance can be fantastic if it builds up slowly, but to suddenly, it was almost like they were going to come down having announced that they got a new bromance. No, it was a show bromance for me, I'm afraid. I'm not into, I don't they're friends, but I think that was over-egging it a little.
So you don't think Chris and Kem have anything to worry about right now, or the Do-Bit Society from last year?
The problem is with programmes like this, it works for somebody and then it becomes the new formula.
Sure.
And I think what we enjoyed with Chris and Kem, and it was just good watching a proper relationship, because everybody else on that show was a little bit fake. Take out the words a little bit. But this time I think I would have loved to have seen a really good one, because in amongst all the other fake romances, and it's good to see something, oh look, they really, and these two do kind of like one another.
But it's interesting the reaction to Curtis and Tommy. You were saying about bromances being more well received, and yet we had Amber and Anna defending Yewande to Danny, you know, because their friend's been hurt and now she's gone. And from the YouTube comments and social media, there was quite a lot of vitriol towards that. So where does that difference come about? Surely they're not just, you know, a girl clique taking care of Yewande, and like Curtis and Tommy take care of each other, but one is liked and one is not so liked. So what's going on there?
I mean, those two guys, you know, they're just being quite soppy in there, aren't they? They're not really, I mean, you know, St. Curtis has done no wrong at all. Tommy's pretty much, all right, he was a bit flirty at the start, but he's trying to prove himself as Mr. Perfect as well. But when the two women joined together, I mean, they then turned their sights on another female, and they went for it in a very schoolyard way, and it wasn't pretty to see. You know, it's so intense in there. If you get that kind of vibe from anybody, and you could see it was all about power, and, you know, that kind of thing that, you know, bye-bye, bye-bye. I mean, that's just horrible. It's to diminish and demean people. And I think there were many psychological reasons as for what they were doing at that point, because the other thing, apart from being presented as Queen Bee, and that was, you know, I'm in the middle of all these other people and I'm going to get my man to go and get you and then I'm going to attack you. It was real Queen Bee behaviour. But also what that also does is they're sending out a message to their guys, look, you can't do the dirty on me because this is what you will get. So it's self-protective. It was really unpleasant to watch. And when you watch their faces, their body language when they were doing it, snarling, you know, the top lip raised and the lower jaw going on, and then the pit bearing, bye-bye. It was, that body language I found very ugly, especially since they've pretended to be really... I mean, we all knew Amber was feisty, but I didn't want to see it come out in quite that formula. Sure. I think that will have upset people.
Moving on again, Maura and Tom have had a week of it, so we're just going to take a look at what on earth happened there.
It'll be interesting to see if she is all mouth or not.
What did you just say to them?
No, why?
What did you just say?
Just then.
Yeah.
Be interested to see if you're all mouth or not.
You did not just say that. Fuck off.
Fucked it.
Tom, you sweet summer child. Oh dear.
It gave him a personality though, didn't it? You know, I mean, yeah.
Gosh, Julie, where do we begin? I'll start at the top where he's sort of coming out to the guys and he's like, let's see if she's all mouth or not. Was he really that arrogant, or is he nervous and he's just trying to play it off? What's he doing?
I think he has had little flashes of arrogance in amongst the nice guy, slightly boring persona. There have been little moments where it did make me wonder. And I think we've seen before that he likes to show off to the guys. The guys were hilarious though, and they've done this before. They are like an animal pack. If you notice there, when he'd obviously said the wrong thing, they all showed fear like animals do. They were all clutching one another. And this was pure animal fear mixed with a kind of, they found it hilarious, but you could see, and they would start tumbling around. You'd see that in a meerkat movie.
Yes, you would.
You would
clambering all over each other.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like what happens to one of the pack affects the rest of them. And I think that's the kind of grouping that the guys have got. I almost can't believe I know they were saying it, but again, I'm so suspicious. There was something about the way that he walked towards you. You must know who's in earshot in that. It's not that huge a space. And yet he repeated that line.
Yes, I couldn't believe that.
No, well, I couldn't. I actually couldn't. And I thought, why did you do that? It created a good dramatic moment, but I always get so suspicious when that kind of thing happens. But it's going to create such a great moment of tension because, again, we will now wait for her to attack him again. And she won't twice. She's going to just get the mincemeat machine out and he's going to be like dog meat on the floor. Why would you do that?
I know. And what do you think about... you mentioned Maura's assassin smile there. That seems like someone who's out for the kill, who's got a target. Does she? Is she playing a game? Is she after anybody?
I think she's gone in... I quite like the way she operates, which is that she is very upfront. She does speak her mind. I like the way when she was having a go at him that it wasn't any game playing going on. She just said, that's a what's it comment. And so he knew exactly where he stood. Interestingly, I think that, and I don't think it was game playing, but I think that after the row had blown over, I think she was pretty bored by Tom. I don't think there's a huge attraction going on there. But I think because that had happened and then had a bit of a row, she maybe did find him for 1 microsecond a bit more interesting. And I think that kind of helped a bit for her with the actual attraction. But I don't think she'll need too much of an excuse to mince him.
Yeah, of course, but you can't see it lasting long term, basically.
Are we counting seconds or minutes? what long term? Yeah.
To lunch, maybe? Do you think of it?
I would say that she's probably one of the only ones in there that would go it alone, even if it meant that she might risk being out the next round. I don't think she'll too much pair with anybody really for the sake of it.
And then just to wrap up, who do you think we're going to be talking about this time next week? Who's got an interesting journey coming up, or looks like something interesting could be beginning there that will be interesting?
I'm still waiting for Curtis and Amy the musical. Oh, yeah. He's already dressed up as Grease. He does Grease, doesn't he? Yes. This week he's been a rapper, I noticed. So can Love Island really leave those two alone? Something has got to pull the wings off them. I don't know what it might be, but maybe they'll just breeze through to the final. But maybe that. But clearly the depth charges are going in. I mean, there's going to be, I don't know, the Dagenham Girl Pipers are going to be shipped in to sort of like
get them on,
lure them and split them up and things like that. And I think pretty much the thing with Amy is that she's got enough paranoia in there that any hint of anything. But I think otherwise it will be the ones that you've either got the ones that are waiting to be picked off, like Maura, or I reckon they're going to start looking. I mean, particularly with Amber and Michael and people like that. I think the Love Island bosses would be prizing problems between them.
Interesting. It'll be cool to see how that plays out. So thank you once again for your time, Judy, and your insights. Loving what you had to say, especially the pit bearing. I'll bear that in mind. And join us again next time for more Love Island or Lie Island on metro.co.uk.